or non-exclusive franchise tag before that deadline, which is on March 7th at 4 p.m. Eastern. Getting a look at the quarterbacks to be franchise tagged since that started basically 30 years ago in 1993. Among those names, Dak, Kirk Cousins, Drew Brees, all but two of those listed here not resulting in an extension. That was Kirk Cousins with Washington, and then, of course, Drew Brees with the Chargers back in 2005. Again, the deadline for the franchise tag is March 7th at 4 p.m. And we have our NFL insider, Josina Anderson, who is at the Combine right now to talk about everything going on in the NFL in the offseason. And Josina, you can't talk about the franchise tag deadline without thinking of Lamar Jackson. It's been a lot of back and forth between him and the Ravens. You had a one-on-one with Harbaugh earlier this week. Based on what you're hearing and who you're talking to, does it seem like a deal is going to get done anytime soon between Lamar and the Ravens?
Well, here's what we know. We know that Ravens general manager Eric DeCosta did tell the media that he was hopeful that a long-term deal would get done prior to the tag deadline on March 7th. And when I spoke to head coach John Harbaugh in our one-on-one just the other day, he used the term that he is fervently hopeful that a deal will get done. But when I was just speaking to league sources yesterday and today, I'm told that both sides are still not close to getting a deal done. And also, my league sources have the impression that, at least as of right now, the Ravens have their best offer on the table. However, I was just told, even before coming on this stage, the context to that is that is still pending getting more feedback from Lamar's side on their latest proposal. So that's kind of what I'm hearing with regards to that. In addition to that, the other information that I have is that they've heard from several teams that have tapped in, obviously expressing preliminary interest on gathering more information with the potential trade. And that is to be expected, as there are multiple teams that have quarterback questions out there. I mean, you're looking at a team like the Atlanta Falcons, who obviously have moved on from Marcus Mariota. They have Desmond Ridder as their lead quarterback right now in terms of their depth at the position. That's their third rounder from last year. You're looking at a team like the Miami Dolphins, who have some quarterback questions, and we'll get more into that, I know, in our next topic. And then that also includes like the Saints, you know, the Panthers and the Jets, though they are focusing right now in their conversations with Derek Carr, trying to hear what's going on with Aaron Rodgers. It just is a part of all the team's due diligence to tap in on that situation. Now, I think what is also fair to say, which is also the information I'm getting from my conversations, that the Ravens are still trying to determine which tag they're going to use, whether it be exclusive or non-exclusive. And as you know, if they put that exclusive tag on him, that means that at least it's $45 million. The non-exclusive would be $32, but would just net 2 first-rounders. And I personally think, and I've had a lot of debate about this with league sources here at the Combine as to what is the better choice. But when you're looking at the fact that the exclusive tag mandates that they have to at least spend $45 million, you would have to think that any team that's going to put an offer on Lamar Jackson at a minimum is going to be spending $45 million. I mean, yes, that's what Patrick Mahomes is making, but at least from an APY standpoint, Patrick Mahomes is like 5th or 6th when it comes to that category. You've got Mahomes at 45. You got, Deshaun Watson at 46. You've got Kyler Murray at 46.1. Russell Wilson at 48. Aaron Rodgers at 50. And you could even make an argument as to why 48 on an APY should be the floor, with Russell Wilson commanding that, coming off of a 5-12 season. So the understanding that I have, with all of kind of the minutia that has been out there as far as whether he wants a fully guaranteed deal and whether, how far apart they are. And as I talked about this when we had this discussion a couple of days ago, my understanding is that Lamar Jackson doesn't want anything less than what Deshaun Watson is making. And as far as the confusion as to whether that's a fully guaranteed deal or not, well, if you're having that conversation last year, that would amount to fully guaranteed, right? Because that's the amount that Deshaun Watson has commanded. But you could still potentially get your floor, the minimum amount that you want, be offered more than that, and just still want the floor and that not be fully guaranteed. So just to, again, reiterate where some of that is coming from. But one last time, I still think it makes sense to do the exclusive tag, because I think at a minimum that's what you would expect on the amount with the $45 million, and it still allows you to dictate the compensation coming back for Lamar when quarterbacks like Russell Wilson and also Deshaun Jackson commanded at least 3 first-round picks. Remember, the non-exclusive just gets you 2 first-round picks, and I think Eric DeCosta has to be aware of the optics of the exchange that he would get in such a sensitive matter.
And again, that tag deadline, March 7th at 4 p.m. Eastern. A team that you did mention there, aside from the Ravens, Josina, the Dolphins and Tua technically entering a contract year, but Miami can exercise that 5th-year option anytime before May 1st. Josina, based on your contacts and what you're hearing, do you think the Dolphins are going to get something done with Tua sooner rather than later?
Well, you're right. I mean, they're going into the 4th year as a former first rounder, so they have to make a decision on exercising that 5th-year option, which would net him about $23.1 million in 2024. Now, even though the reports were coming out of the end of the season that the experts expect Tua to be 100% when the time of football comes, league sources have told me again last night and today that there are members in the organization of the Dolphins who are aware that the team is exploring all of their options at quarterback, including potentially moving in a different direction from Tua. And so, yes, that is happening. That is part of the due diligence that a general manager should do when you are considering the concussion in the head history, the injury history in the head to Tua and what they've experienced, and making sure that you have the insurance to cover the depth, because the notion is, and the feeling is that with each successive concussion that, you know, the risk gets higher and higher to impacting a quarterback's football future in this league, and you have to kind of cover for that, for that potential risk. Now, that doesn't mean to say that, Tua doesn't have potential as a quarterback. We know he led the league in passer rating at 105.5, and he had his best touchdown to interception ratio last year, 25-8, had his best career year in passing yards and all those other things, and obviously showed a lot of improvement. I was at that week 2 game when he and Lamar went back and forth, and he had the 5 touchdowns in the second half and all of that other stuff. But the reality is, going from week 3 last year against the Bills, week 4 Thursday night football against the Bengals, and again towards the end of the season against the Packers, there were multiple instances where there was either a concussion or we saw video where his head did hit the field. And remember, even in that last concussion, it took him 38 days to clear the protocol. So we're talking about due diligence that makes sense per the job that the front office has to do in that building.
Yeah, Tua limited to 13 games this season because of concussions. That is our NFL insider, Josina Anderson, joining us from Indy at the NFL Combine. Thank you so much, Josina. We appreciate it. And for more NFL insight, make sure you check out the All Things Covered podcast with B-Mac and Pat P. In the very latest episode, Lincoln Riley joining the guys to talk about year 2 expectations and his team's move to the Big Ten in 2024. You can download and listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.